Welcome back to Mighty Parenting Podcast in our Real Talk segment. And today we want to do something I think is a little bit different because not something that I ever thought of in terms of my kids. And that is identity theft. And one of the articles I was reading recently, because I try to keep in touch with it, especially with all the data breaches that have been going on, I try to go, well, what can I do that's reasonable and not make me crazy? But they said, let's see, 10% of kids under the age of 19 have had their identity stolen because it's this nice, squeaky clean slate. And number one, that surprised me.
Yeah.
I'm like, Judy, we got to tell people that we need to keep an eye on our kids' stuff for them when they're young. But also, this again there are a few areas I realized as my kids were growing up that I missed the teachable moments. And identity theft.
Like, who would think of that, right?
Yeah, I'm like, this is not an adulting skill that I'm thinking I need to teach my kids.
Right.
So Judy and I wanted to just kind of talk about it a little bit and toss some ideas around about, well, what makes sense in terms of teenagers and college students? Like, what should we be sharing with them? And again, we're teaching these skills. So, even when they're in elementary and middle school and high school, as we're doing some of these things for ourselves, involve them in it. Or take that moment when you're checking out. One of the things is to use credit cards instead of debit cards. And so, just make those passing comments and go, have you ever noticed I use a credit card, not a debit card? Have you ever thought about why? And those types of things. Judy, your family just...
Well, it's funny that you say that because I am quintessentially the trusting person. I'm the person that screws up and uses the same password across everything because it's easy for me to remember. I'm the person that just goes, it's not going to happen to me. And it was really interesting because just recently, our daughter, our oldest, her and her husband got his identity stolen. And it was a huge, they caught it right away because they were using some of the practices, like you just said, using credit cards instead of debit cards. And they have pristine credit. And they got a call from one of the places where somebody was trying to take out a loan in their name. And it was just like so off the wall from what their typical spending habits were that their bank account gave them a fraud alert and said, what is going on? And they were able to get in front of it before it became a problem. But it really and truly opened my eyes because we think of fraud and identity theft as a thing that'll happen to someone else. We don't think it would happen to us. So you saying that it's a adulting skill that we have to teach our kids, I think is critical, especially when we are online using apps, tapping into Wi-Fi everywhere we go. Identity thieves are smart.
Yeah. And that's one thing right there is, yes, we have devices, we have phones, they're great tools, but we need to have the conversations with our kids about which things is it only appropriate to do from home. I know some of the stuff I've read says don't do your online shopping out running around. Mm-hmm. Do your online shopping, and it doesn't technically have to be your home, but in a place where you're on a private network.
Exactly.
Don't go to the coffee shop and sit down and start shopping because your information can get pulled from a public network.
Exactly.
So, one tip. Let's see what else we have. Another one, which we mentioned, but I just want to talk about a little bit because people are going, well, credit cards, debit cards, what difference does it make? And debit cards, you can go, if someone takes your money from your account illegally, you can have the bank investigate it and get your money back. Mm-hmm. But you don't get your money until the bank finishes investigating and gets it back. Whereas when you use credit cards, as soon as you see that there was a false charge on your card, when you contact, you see that, call the credit card company right away, and they don't make you pay on that charge until it's been investigated. And if it's not you, then you don't pay it. If it was you, then obviously you do have to pay it because sometimes we just forget that we charge something or you can't tell by the way it comes through.
we get into the swipe habit, swipe, 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 and don't pay attention, which also brings me to if you're using an ATM machine, be sure that there isn't one of the fake things when you put your card in. They, identity fraud, they put this little reader that takes all your information and pulls it. So you just kind of that's one of the things that actually my kids taught me, said, Mom, make sure that you pull and just make sure it doesn't pop off, because it can be someone trying to get all of your data.
Yeah, you can also do a Google search on that, and you can see pictures to find out how it looks different, because it definitely looks different. It's not something you would notice if you weren't looking for it, but if you are looking for it, it definitely looks different. Another habit is shredding your mail. If you're not going to get bills and bank statements and things electronically, if you're going to get paper copies of those things, you want to make sure that when you're done, you shred them. And again, that's just that habit to teach your kids. And actually, it is recommended to get those things electronically rather than physical copies. And I know, like with bank accounts or investment firms, they don't even send you the information in an email. They just say, hey, your statement's ready, go log into your account.
Exactly. And it's one of those things, our kids, when they're in college, every little table that they walk by and stuff, the credit card companies are doing all kinds of incentives for our kids to have our credit cards. So make sure if you're filling out something, find out what they're doing with that piece of paper. Is it something you're better off doing, like you said, Sandy, doing it instead of doing it physically, doing it online? No credit card has to be filled out physically right then and there at that table. It can be taken and you can get the same deal back online.
Which brings me to another point, which is one of the things I did teach my kids, apparently, because this just came up in our house too. My daughter got, she had sent money into an investment firm and got a phone call saying, you need to call us, there's a problem. And so she contacted me and she's like, I know you wouldn't call the phone number they left. So what do I do? Do I just go online and look it up? I'm like, yes. So when you're left, you sent an email or a message or whatever, and it's a company that you actually work with, just don't use the phone number they gave you. Go to the website, look up the phone number, look up the email, and initiate your own contact. Explain to them what happened and tell them the phone number you were given or the PIN number you were given or whatever, and let them find out if that is in fact real, because that's another way that people get information from us. But Judy, I wanted to do one other thing, going back actually to what you said about credit cards. We all know that we should get our credit reports, and you can get 3 companies and you can get one per year from each one. So you could be checking a credit report every 4 months. And that's a good habit to have and a habit to teach your kids. But now so many of the credit cards actually show you your credit score. And that's a little bit late if your score has been affected, but it's better than not knowing. And for the college kids, it's also good for them to learn how to have a credit card for emergencies. A lot of parents go, well, I'm just not going to have them get a card. We had our daughters apply for their own credit card. We actually, it's just their card in their name. We didn't co-sign. We didn't do anything. It was a really low limit. And, we said, buy your books and then we'll reimburse you for them. One, that's about all she does on hers is things that we're paying for that we reimburse. The other one uses it regularly, but they also see their credit score each month. So it's, it's right on their statement. And it's just another, again, little habit for keeping track of things.
Yeah. And watch, encourage your kids to watch what they put on social media. It seems like such a little thing, but all of those, and I see a huge trend, is like, what animal are you today? Or what's this? And you're answering all these personal questions.
Your favorite?
That data can be mined.
Right, and those are our security questions.
Right.
What schools did you attend? What streets did you grow up on? What's your mother's maiden name? All that is online now.
Exactly. And so, watch social media, see how you are putting your information out there. I actually saw somebody the other day and I just cringed. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I instant messaged them and I'm like, take it down, take it down. They went, oh, look at my new credit card is so pretty. And they took a picture and posted it on Instagram. And it was just this interesting. I was like, oh, for the love of goodness, because you can get the new, specialty credit cards that you send a picture in and it's now that picture. But so I think, wrapping it up in a pretty little bow is that, one, this is something we need to be talking to our kids about. It's something that if we're not doing a great job of checking our credit scores and setting up good passwords and all of that kind of thing, we need to be more diligent, and we need to involve our kids in that process, like you said, Sandy, so that we can teach them within the moments of how we're protecting our identity, how they can protect theirs. Anything else that you want to add on?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today for this episode. And if you like what you have heard, we want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share, because that's how we build our audience. And as you know, the first thing is we are more than just a podcast. We are a community that wants to help you raise your teens and parent your 20-somethings so that they can be happy, healthy, and successful adults. And if this is your first time, we welcome you. Be sure to come on over and join us in our Facebook group, the Mighty Parenting Facebook group, where you can ask questions and get answers and get inspired. And until next time, this is Judy Davis and Sandy Fowler encouraging you to be a mighty parent.